My name is Arthur Robinson Williams. I'm the producer of My Right Self, a photo documentary with transgender folks in the Philadelphia area. I got the idea to do a photo project with transgender people in 2007. In part, that built off of ENDA, the Employee Non-Discrimination Act. Once the Democrats had gotten control of Congress in 2007, they tried to get that passed again, and at the last minute, they cut out protections for gender identity in the workplace. And that, I think, revealed a rift, or various rifts, within the LGBTQ community. This project started in part because I was interested in, what does transgender mean? And I think, that whoever you ask will have their own version of what transgender means. And in some ways, that's probably the most important thing to understand, is that there isn't a hard and fast definition, either for transsexualism or transgenderism or genderqueer. And especially with more recent I think movements within trans communities, if anything, the whole point has been, thinking about queerness in particular, trying not to label things and define them so that people feel pressured to be a certain way. Rather, it's really about embracing people as they identify. I think part of the passion behind my photography work is this idea that I can work with communities or people to create images that do run counter to the more general and stereotyped images that people are used to seeing. And that was definitely a motive with this project, like all of mine, to work with trans folks, to create much more humanistic, sort of balanced portraits with people that don't portray them in very sort of idiosyncratic and narrow and constricted manners, just focusing on anatomy or on difference or otherness, but working with people to create really beautiful images. It was certainly wonderful to get to meet the folks involved in the project, and I really respect that they were willing to be in front of the camera and that they were willing to write about really personal things and to share that basically with anyone in the world who might come across it.
So my name is Dane Menkin, and I was one of the subjects that Rob interviewed for the My Right Self project. He started with me and my then partner, now wife, Erin Schmidt. He thought that we would be sort of good candidates because we were in the process of trying to have a child. From the time I was a child, I always was, hi little boy, or if I was with my younger sister, what's your brother's name? And got called sir all the time, even as a young kid. And I don't think my family ever particularly had such a hard time with that, although my parents would always say, this is my daughter, if they were introducing me. But I hated it. It made me crazy from the time I can remember as a small child. It made me nuts because I just didn't understand it. I didn't understand how to make it different, if I wanted it to be different, if I wanted it to be true, if I just didn't want to be identified as something that I didn't think I was, or if I didn't want my parents to be embarrassed. I didn't want them to be uncomfortable, even if I didn't particularly care. They had no idea what it meant to take testosterone and what it meant to, what does that mean surgically, and what do we tell the rest of the family? How does this happen? Are you going to change your name? Are you, what does any of this mean for the bigger picture? And my God, are you ever going to be able to be employed? I think they just see the worst case scenario. They see, people that have no job opportunities but street work, or they have no job opportunities so they're homeless, or they really become people that really fall prey to a pretty strict social system that we have in this country. But I think as time went on and they saw that it just wasn't my experience, that my professional career continued to grow, and my relationship got better, and my relationship with them actually got better, because all of a sudden I didn't have two sets of clothes, one that I wore when I saw my family and one when I wore when I wasn't with my family, and all of a sudden I didn't mind going to visit. There's positive outcomes to this process that when you start is daunting. Think about yourself at one of the most vulnerable times in your life, whether you just had a baby, or you're buying a house, or you're starting a new job, or one of your parents is really sick. And try to understand how you wanted to be treated at that point. Because I think somebody who is transitioning or has just disclosed that they're transgender feels just very vulnerable, and your response is gonna make or break their level of integrity or their sense of self. So try to just understand a point where you felt really vulnerable and somebody really helped you, or really just made your life not so complicated. And if you can do that and it's not that hard, you've just done a world of good.